There are a great number of secrets, mysteries, and little hints hidden within this game. Yet, one of the things that caught my attention from the very start and never let it go was the simple design difference in the twins' outfits. Heater and Lumine's designs are almost polar opposites. Heater has a lot of black, brown, and gold, giving him an earthly vibe, while Lumine is clad in almost entirely white, with black, blue, and gold accents, which gives her a very celestial feel, further aided by the feathers in her hair. But her hair is also decorated by a couple of flowers, which Heater has none of. Flowers hold a lot of meaning for many real-world cultures, and it's no different in Inteyvat. In fact, there are quite a few flowers that contain a lot of lore, oftentimes rather dark lore. And if there was still any chance that Lumine's flowers were there for aesthetic value alone, the Travail trailer completely wiped it out. In it, Dainsleif says, "I will never forget how she do love these flowers." Which makes total sense in a scenario where Lumine is Eevee's princess and Heater the traveler, but that's not always the case, and remember, both twins are the canon traveler. It also implied that the flower was important during the time that Dainsleif and Eevee's twins spent traveling Teyvat, and that it was almost certainly connected to Khaenri'ah. So why and how exactly does traveler Lumine have those flowers in her hair? Well, that's not a secret anymore. During the Requiem of Echoing Dreams quest, where we ventured into the chasm with Dainsleif, he explained that this flower was actually called the Inteyvat, the national flower of Khaenri'ah, and it is packed with symbolism, because the Inteyvat hardens once taken out of Khaenri'ah soil and softens again once it is returned. So it's a metaphor for a traveler that yearns to return home. And in the cutscene, we learned that it was the beast sibling that left the flower for the old and weakened Hilichurls, as a promise to raise the homeland once more. This quest also brought with it something new, different dialogue options for both travelers. Heater recognizes the Inteyvat as the flower Lumine wears, while Lumine comments on how that's the flower she woke up with in her hair. So far so good, right? Nothing new here. But what I haven't seen be discussed is how this flower completely shifts our perspective of past game events and shows us that the twins aren't that interchangeable as all that. Why? Well, let's take Heater as the Beast Prince to start with and form a timeline from his perspective. He and his sister arrive in Teyvat. He wakes up first and sets off to explore this new world. Somewhere along the way he meets Dainsleif and establishes ties with Khaenri'ah. He's there when a cataclysm begins. Knowing there's no way he can win against the wrath of the gods, he flees, but not without speaking a couple of Inteyvats first. Heater leaves, but he takes with him the promise to return in the form of those two flowers. Then he meets Lumine, places the flowers in her hair, and wakes her up so that they both might escape. If, on the other hand, Lumine is your Beast princess, the story doesn't change a lot, except she plucks those two flowers and puts them in her hair before going to find her brother, which right off the bat denotes a clear difference in personality. Heater is much more family-oriented. Him giving Lumine the flowers is like saying, "Yes, I will be back, but not without my sister." While Lumine is more goal-oriented, it's all about her quest for vengeance. She cares for her brother a lot, but business is business. Overall, she has a more brazen personality, which is supported by the fact that she is the one to question the Sustainer during their first meeting, regardless of the role that you, as a player, will assign her later. Also, if you compare their normal attacks, they are sequenced in such a way that one twin always covers the openings of the other. Yet, Lumine has a slightly higher damage multiplier, which may also be a hint at a more aggressive personality and fighting style. So while the story hasn't diverged for both travelers at this point, and even though characters like Dane compare both twins, at the end of the day they do have rather different personalities, and I wonder if that will come into play in some small ways in the future. While I can picture Hoyoverse just straight up giving us different endings, as that would certainly start another Archon war within the player base, seeing the twins be treated as their own person rather than a duo would be pretty cool. But personality differences aside, the more important bit of information this flower gives us is the Abyss twins' plan. It doesn't matter which twin you picked, neither of them ever had an intention of abandoning Khaenri'ah. They weren't running away, they were making a strategic retreat. Those flowers aren't a souvenir, they are a promise in the truest sense. Even as they tried to leave, the Abyss twin had every intention of raising the homeland back from the ground. And listen, They could just be trying to escape until the dust settles before returning and starting to wage war against Celestia. But we know nothing about the twins. We don't know the true extent of their powers or their nature. We don't even know what sort of connections they have in other worlds. But the Sustainer might have an idea. The reason why the Sustainer prevented the twins from leaving has always been a point of discussion within this community, especially because they turned out to be a thorn in Celestia's side, and it seems like a lot of trouble that could have been avoided if our mystery god had just allowed 2 Outlanders to leave. But what if she knew that they would be able to return with a new power, a new weapon, or heck, even an army? She knew when and where they would try to escape, and recognized them as being from another world. Who is to say that's all she knew? Sealing the twins away and separating them might have been a form of damage control. Regardless of her reasons, I'm most curious about the Abyss siblings' plan. Early in the game, while we were still trying to free the Valen from abyssal corruption, we got to see an Abyss mage talk to the Abyss sibling and say this: "When your homeland returns to this world, we shall revel in its glory." Not our world, as you'd expect a Kandrian-turned monster to say. Your, as in the Abyss siblings. We know the twins came to Inteyvat after escaping from a world that was being destroyed. But we also know they traveled through many worlds already. Who's to say that somewhere out there isn't a world that could supply the twins with the power they need to ascend to the celestial thrones themselves and put an end to an era of tyrannical gods? But I want to hear about you. What do you think? What were the Abyss prince or princess trying to accomplish by escaping? And do you think your choice of a traveler will impact the way the story unfolds? Do let me know in the comments down below. I'll be sure to read them all. So, without further ado, my name is Blue, and I'll see you again soon. Safe journey, travelers.